Imagine being the last of your kind, the final heartbeat of an entire species.
There is some video that has gone viral on the internet. It claims to show an animal that went extinct 4,000 years ago, still alive and in the wild.
Yeah, some people say it's a hoax, but others claim it could be evidence that woolly mammoths are still alive. All right, check out the video. It was obtained by the Sun newspapers in England and was reportedly shot by a Russian government engineer in a desolate, relatively unexplored area of Siberia last year.
The last mammoth on Earth didn't know it was alone. It walked through another frozen dawn, searching for food, completely unaware that when its eyes closed for the final time, an entire lineage spanning millions of years would vanish forever. How does something so massive, so powerful, so perfectly adapted to survive, simply cease to exist? The answer is more terrifying than you think. The wind howls across the frozen steppe. A small herd of mammoths trudges through wet, heavy snow. Their massive bodies, covered in thick brown fur, move with exhausted determination. These giants once dominated this landscape in the thousands. Now only a handful remain. The ice beneath their feet is retreating. Winter is changing. And these magnificent creatures are walking, step by step, toward extinction. This is the light of the world is dangerous, and the risk is changed. Yet the world is changed and melting faster. A slow, creeping death, made of 1,000 small changes, each one barely noticeable, until suddenly it's too late. This is how the mammoths disappeared. To understand their end, we must first understand what they truly were. We see them as legends today, enormous, mythical beasts, trapped in ice and time. But for thousands of years, for our primitive ancestors, mammoths were not legend, they were life itself. The woolly mammoth stood 3 meters tall at the shoulder. Beneath its thick brown fur lay a layer of fat, so dense it could withstand temperatures that would kill a human in minutes. Its ears were small, designed to conserve precious heat. And those tusks, those magnificent curved tusks, could stretch over 4 meters long, weapons and tools carved by evolution itself. They traveled in herds, mothers guiding their young, bulls protecting the group. They followed ancient migration routes, searching for dry grass, moss, and roots beneath the snow. They knew this frozen world intimately, every wind pattern, every hidden grazing ground, every danger. And there were many dangers. Around them roamed other giants, woolly rhinoceros with horns like spears, massive bison, saber-toothed cats with fangs designed for killing, and cave bears that could tear through flesh like paper. The Ice Age was the era of titans, a brutal, frozen world, but one teeming with life. For early humans, mammoths meant survival. One killed mammoth could feed a tribe for weeks. The meat was roasted, smoked, preserved, but it was more than food. Sinew became rope, skin became shelter, bones became the framework for entire dwellings. In some regions, archaeologists have discovered houses built entirely from mammoth bones, covered in hide, monuments to both human ingenuity and mammoth abundance. Our ancestors didn't just hunt mammoths, they studied them, observed them, drew them on cave walls across Europe and Asia. These weren't simple sketches, they were detailed, showing movement, behavior, life. Mammoths occupied the same space in their minds that horses and cattle do in ours today. They were part of the world's fabric, but even giants fall. The world of mammoths was built on ice, and ice, as we know, melts. About 12,000 years ago, everything began to shift. Not dramatically, not overnight, but like a knife slowly sliding between ribs. The change was deadly. Temperatures crept upward, century by century. The massive glaciers that carried the northern hemisphere began their retreat. Sea levels rose, swallowing the land bridges that connected continents. The great frozen steppes, those endless prairies of dry grass that mammoths depended on, started transforming. Forests appeared, swamps spread, new plants took root. For many animals, this was an opportunity. They adapted, they migrated, they survived. But mammoths were specialists. Their bodies, their behaviors, their entire existence was engineered for one thing: extreme cold. Picture a herd during this transition. The young are hungry because the grass is scarce. Ancient migration routes lead to dead ends, blocked by swollen rivers and impassable forests. The old feeding grounds are now deep mud that traps their massive legs. Territory shrinks. Competition with other herbivores intensifies. But there's something worse than hunger. The changing climate brings new diseases. Parasites that couldn't survive harsh winters now thrive. Insects multiply in the longer summers, carrying microbes and infections that spread through weakened herds. For a single mammoth living through one season, the changes might seem minor, but across centuries, everything collapses. Herds grow smaller, populations become isolated. Some groups vanish without witnesses. And then there was us. As the climate changed, so did humanity. Our weapons improved. Stone-tipped spears became more effective. Hunting parties grew organized, coordinated, deadly. Ancient hunters learned to exploit terrain, to create ambushes, to turn the mammoth's own size and panic against them. An adult mammoth could kill a human with a single charge, but a panicked herd, a cliff edge, a frozen lake with thin ice, a muddy swamp. Suddenly his strength became their prison. We have no evidence that humans alone exterminated the mammoths, but there's a pattern that cannot be ignored. Wherever modern humans expanded, megafauna began disappearing. It's not coincidence, it's combination. Shrinking habitats, dwindling food sources, increased hunting pressure. Each lost herd was a fragment of the future erased, but some survived longer than others. Small populations found refuge in remote corners of the world. On Wrangel Island in the Arctic, mammoths persisted for thousands of years after the mainland populations collapsed. These were dwarf mammoths, smaller than their ancestors, adapted to limited resources. Yet isolation carries its own death sentence. Fewer individuals means less genetic diversity, inbreeding, inherited weaknesses, vulnerability to disease, a single harsh winter, one epidemic. That's all it takes to erase a population that has survived for millennia. Eventually, even these last refuges fell silent. The final mammoth died alone, unaware it was the last. For that creature, it was simply another cold day. For Earth, it was the end of an era. But the mammoths left something behind. The permafrost has kept them. In Siberia, in Alaska, preserved in ice for thousands of years, we find them. Not just bones, entire bodies, fur, skin, organs, stomach contents showing their last meals, eyes that still hold their shape. Sometimes the earth cracks open and reveals them. A massive, fur-covered leg emerging from melting ice. A reminder of what was lost. Scientists study their DNA. Some even discuss recreating them, engineering cold-adapted elephants with mammoth traits. It's controversial, exciting, terrifying. It shows how much power we now hold over life and death. But here's the real lesson. Mammoths didn't die from one cause. They died from many. Climate change, habitat loss, hunting, isolation. The same combination threatening animals today. Rhinos, elephants, polar bears, tigers. Species that seem permanent, just as mammoths once did. The next time you see a mammoth skeleton in a museum, don't see a monster. See a mother leading her calf through snow. See a herd crossing frozen plains. See survival against impossible odds, until those odds finally won. That skeleton is proof that even giants fall. And it asks us one crucial question. What will we do with the giants still walking among us? Will we protect them? Or will we let them fade like the mammoths, until they're nothing but bones in museums and stories told to children? The choice is ours, but it won't be forever.